Hello, I am Jason Kufuor George. I play keys alongside ShofarBand, and today I'd just like to chat through just a little bit of keys, logistics, my gear, recommendations, things to look out for, just a general, let's call it touch base, so that we can communicate ideas. I recognize that a lot of this video is going to be going to a lot of different people, a lot of people at various different technological points in their musical careers, and that's perfectly fine. The aim of it is to more bring us to a certain point where we're all united. I'm very aware of the fact that the status quo currently is to have a normal keyboard, like, say, for instance, a Roland XPS10 or a Kurzweil or a RD700NX or something like that. One nice, gigantic either workstation or digital piano. And on there, there's, let's call it embedded processing that automatically finds sounds just by itself. You don't really have to design them. I know that a lot of people either own keyboards like that, or a lot of people serve at churches who own and primarily use keyboards like that. Now, that's very great. That's 100% good. All the pianos that you have access to, I'm 100% sure, are very capable of doing the job. But I would just like to submit to you perhaps the way of the future. I personally do not use that setup. I use a setup that is based entirely off of digital concepts called MIDI. In that paradigm, let's say, the keyboard that you get, let's say, for instance, a Roland XPS10 or any other kind of dedicated MIDI controller, keyboard MIDI controller, becomes a digital host through which you send signals, MIDI signals, to a host computer like this one over here. And that host computer receives the signals, runs it through a certain computer program of your choice or of your comfort or access. And it turns that electronic signal into some kind of sound. I personally use a program called MainStage. I know that there are very many different alternatives for a lot of people. MainStage is based off of the Logic library, and therefore that makes it Mac exclusive. And I know that not everyone has a Mac, so there's some very good alternatives for Windows, like Reaper, like Ableton, Crystal Audio Engine, Adobe Audition, LMS, etc., that can do the function of MainStage. I use MainStage because MainStage is very cheap, comparatively speaking, and MainStage comes with access to the entire Logic sound library. So any kind of bass instrument that comes with Logic comes with MainStage for a good, very reasonable price. I believe at the time of this recording, it's $29. For me personally, there are many reasons as to why I prefer using this kind of setup. Reason number one, firstly, it's lighter and smaller. It's easier to travel with. It's less of a hassle, unless the software isn't working. Then it's a bit more of a hassle, but that comes with experience negotiating the software. Reason number two is it's very open-ended. And when I say that, I mean you're not constrained to merely all the sounds that appear on your keyboard, and you can create beyond what you get on your keyboard. Using something like MainStage, for instance, I've been able to buy many other computer software called plugins. How plugins work is basically they latch onto your host software, and you can use them to create other sounds. You can add basically any plugin that you want to and that you can based on your software's limitations, and there you have that instrument at your disposal. For instance, I do not use the stock MainStage piano library. I use a plugin that was developed by Waves, which is an audio processing company, a digital audio processing company, called the Grand Rhapsody, which sounds something like this. Which for me is a very beautiful piano, and I'm not constrained to necessarily the 88 stage grand that the Roland XPS10 offers me. So it gives me a very good amount of options. It gives you very high robustness. And also, for instance, you've just heard my Grand Rhapsody sound. Let's hear something else. Let's potentially experiment with my EP sound, which is also another plugin as made by the company Waves. It's called Electric Grand 80, I believe. Sounds something like this. Which for me is just a very, very, very rich piano sound, electric piano sound. It sounds beautiful, it's very robust. I can use it. I can even, if I could show you the screen for copyright reasons, you'll see the amount of functionality that I can edit. For me, it just gives me more of a creative freedom to where I want to go. And not just not just are there plugins for the two plugins that I've explained prior, they both cost money, but they're also free alternative plugins that you can download, like Dext, for instance. It's a very workable synth plugin that is free. But most notably, I'm a very big proponent of the Labs plugin suite by Spitfire. It consists of a very many different instruments, which sound very good, if you'd ask me. For instance, let me demonstrate the soft piano from the free Labs plugins. That's a very, very, very good plugin. It opens up creative wonders if you have these kinds of options. And that's not all that the free Labs suite gives you. You also get very good stuff like strings, short. I'm personally not a very big fan of pizzicato strings like that, but you get things like this. Also, more string sounds like this. I understand that all of this freedom, let's call it, is not for everyone. I understand that not everyone will necessarily delight in this as much as I do. For a lot of people, all they want is just a nice, good piano with some pad to play Chris Tomlin songs, and that's okay. We're all at different points in our musicality, and I just enjoy the freedom that this brings. I enjoy the fact that there's the possibility that I can get drowned in something that I don't know and find something beautiful, like the charango. Who knew what a charango was before Labs decided to give us a free one? But now that's just an advocation for why exploring main stage, exploring software instruments, virtual instruments is such a good idea. Now we move on to how we would then make this a part of our expression, our corporate expression of worship. For instance, if I were to add my trusty Grand Rhapsody piano to, let's say, Logic's or Mainstage's generic retro synth plugin, and I were to treat the retro synth plugin just a little bit, I'd add some EQ, some compression, some delay in very specific ways that my ear or the ears of my friends enjoys. I could end up with something beautiful like this. It opens up a really great world where you could just do what you want and worship the Lord freely as far as your imagination that He gave you can take you. And create something that is illustrative of the beauty that is encapsulated in the Godhead when you can do things like that. Above hoping that you get all the parts right, above hoping that we can equip you to have excellent execution at your local congregation context. My prayer for everyone who watches this video and the tutorials that come out of it is that the Lord would unleash creativity inside of you. The Lord would give you inspiration. The Lord would give you a song, even if that song comes across in the form of MIDI or in the form of pianos or electric pianos, a song to release to the world, to your church, to your friends, for yourself. A reminder of the fact that God has appointed us. Thank you so very much. This has been a discussion around Mainstage and other DAWs.